Hi, my name is Angela, and today I'm going to go over my proposal for a new federal court system. So to begin, I want to go over a couple of the problems in the current system that my proposal will address. The first of which is partisanship. This is a problem because the judicial branch is meant to be nonpartisan for a reason, and we don't want judges to be making decisions in court that put party ideology above a correct interpretation of the Constitution. Then another societal problem facing the courts right now is the persistence of systemic racism in the justice system, especially at the trial level. The justice system tends to favor wealthy white Americans and leads to a disproportionate incarceration of poor African Americans. Some of the current systems in place that help perpetrate this are the cash bail system, mandatory minimums, and plea bargains. So in restructuring the tenure and selection of judges. So currently we have presidential appointment and then Senate confirmation with a lifetime tenure. And the flaws in the system are that it perpetrates this partisanship. The presidents will always choose someone that shares their political ideology. And this is problematic because it allows for judges at the federal level to be treated as political pawns in a sense, which doesn't allow for the nonpartisan judiciary that we want. And then the lifetime tenures are flawed because a set term and reappointment allow for a check on the judiciary. If they're not doing good in that term, we cannot put them back in office, or they have a set time to leave. And not having this leads to a lack of accountability. And also, a lot of times these judges work until they die, which they might not be making the best decisions then. So I propose that we have 18-year tenures with no reappointment, and that judges are selected and appointed by a nonpartisan committee rather than the presidential appointment and Senate confirmation. So I like the idea of the 18-year terms because it eliminates some of the problems of a lifetime tenure, like working until you die and not having like a way to be removed from office that's easy. And without reappointment, there's no need for judges to try and please the committee to reappoint them again, which is why I decided against an alternative I had that was shorter terms of 6 years and then reappointment. But as I said, it enables that trying to please the committee problem. And then also I felt like 6 years was kind of a quick turnover and would lead to a revolving door of judges. Then I chose to do this nonpartisan committee because this eliminates the partisanship and political problems that come from presidential appointment and Senate confirmation. Then as an alternative, I considered election by the people, but I thought it'd be more beneficial to just have this committee who is extremely knowledgeable about the justice system make these decisions because they're so important. So now I want to talk about the number of courts. I like that there are 94 district courts and 1 Supreme Court. I think the issue lies in the 13 circuit courts that we currently have. As you can see by this map here, on the East Coast, we have small, compact circuits, and then on the West Coast, there's these giant sprawling ones that take up way too much space and are taking on way too much caseloads. Specifically, the 9th Circuit has a lot of problems. It's larger than any other circuit and has a huge workload. They're currently running on a 13-month backlog to make a court decision, which is obviously a problem. So I created this map here as an alternative circuit court map. As you can see, I added in this 14th Circuit, which holds California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, then also Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. Then I also moved around a lot of the states on the West because I feel that these circuits that I drew reflect more cultural ties and geographic boundaries and are more compact. An alternative that a lot of people choose is to just create this 14th Circuit that I did and not move around the other states on the West like I did. But I think if I had the opportunity to change things, I would do this because it reflects those cultural boundaries like they did a good job of on the East Coast. So now I want to talk about the division of labor among the courts. I think this system is okay. I would keep it. Currently, we kind of have a hierarchy of less caseload to the higher courts, which I think makes sense. So yeah, my proposal is to remain in the system with the heaviest workload at the district courts, medium workload at circuit courts, and least workload at the Supreme Courts. I wouldn't do something like even workloads in each tier because there's not an even amount of justices in each court. And I think that the Supreme Court needs a small workload because the decisions that they make are so important and so crucial to the United States that they need to take their time with them. So now I want to talk about the process that litigants go through at the trial level. So I don't really see flaws in the actual way the trial is set up, and I wouldn't change that with the defense speaks, the prosecution speaks, there's a judge and a jury. I keep all that. I think it's a great framework, but I think that there's small provisions in place that are a problem and that perpetrate this systemic racism and classism that I talked about earlier. So these are the plea bargains, cash bail, and mandatory minimum sentencing. So my proposal is to remove all three. I don't think they're necessary. So by removing cash bail, it eliminates the privilege that wealthy people get. It's straight up classism. We don't need it. If people don't show up to their court date, that's already a crime with more punishment. So I think that people are going to be inclined to go. And alternatively, we could lower cash bail prices, but I think removing it entirely is the only truly fair way to go about this, because for some people, even a small fine can set them back financially. Then I want to talk about plea bargains. So these need to be banned. I don't really see a benefit to the litigant at all. I see a benefit to the prosecutor for not having to go through a full trial. But a lot of times people who are innocent are often pressured into taking these because they fear going to trial and getting a worse sentence. And I think that everyone deserves that trial before going to prison. And I think that these are also tied into the mandatory minimum sentencing, which incline people to take plea bargains because these mandatory minimums are so long. They're like 20 years or more for a drug charge. And people without a good lawyer that can't afford good representation are going to be scared, and they might just want to take the plea bargain for 6 years rather than face 20 to 25 for this small charge, even if they're innocent. Which is obviously problematic. And then also with these mandatory minimums, I feel like it takes away that decision and that trust in the judge. If you trust your judge, you should let them, decide what a good sentence is for that individual, for their unique circumstances. And saying, oh, you have to have this exact sentence for everyone with this charge, I mean, that just takes away that trust in the judiciary. And I think we need to trust the judiciary. And I think that with these proposals, hopefully we'll be more inclined to trust them. So as I said, an alternative was to lesser cash bail. I think that's, I don't know, I don't really see the point in it. I think it's better to just remove it. And then I also had the idea of maybe lessening these mandatory minimums and making them smaller sentences, but it still has that problem of the distrust in the judgment of the judiciary. And I think that's something that we need to get rid of. So that's my proposal. So thank you for listening.